Hi, everyone. For this module, we've got your three teachers, Kristine and Mellisa and Calina here to share some really important insights about newborn parenting and how it mindfully can hold space for healthy sleep and some things that we might notice that may be uncomfortable or unhelpful, tips that you can use to encourage better sleep and also better self-care. Let's see. Can we each introduce ourselves? Ladies, will one of you jump in and just tell us who you are and how you help the families that you work with?
I'll go first. I'm Calina Selmanson. I'm a certified postpartum doula with about 18 years experience. And I am a infant sleep and toddler sleep consultant. Um, and I help new parents find calm and confidence in their parenting abilities. My goal is always to help the parents believe that they are the expert on their kiddos.
Thanks.
I'm I'm Mellisa Zoul, and I'm a nurse, and I've been working with new families for over 20 years now. I'm also a lactation consultant. I'm IBCLC, and I've been doing that for a decade now. And I just absolutely love working with new families and helping them through all the transitions and providing confidence in themselves and their skills and helping them learn skills, and just having a lot of compassion and holding space for that time.
Yay, thank you. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kristine Petterson, founder of Mindful Parenting Revolution. And I started out as a high school educator and ended up as a very troubled parent. Parenting was very hard for me, and it led me on a path to become a newborn, infant, toddler, and even adult sleep expert, which I love because sleep is so important for us. And I really love making this stuff fun. I think as a parent, I went into all of this learning with a lot of guilt and shame, and now I realize that if you're in a really supportive and non-judgmental community, this growth and this learning and these challenges we need to overcome can actually be really fun and they can feel good in the end. Our first question for each of our teachers here today is about what they know now that they wish they knew when they were a newborn parent. So tell us, what are some things that come up for you that looking back, you wish you knew as a newborn parent?
So I wish I would have known that my baby and babies weren't born with the skill to independently sleep as soon as they were born. The parents I work with, I tell them this too. And it's really, I think it's helpful to understand that babies need to learn how to sleep. It's a skill that we have to help kids learn as parents. Also, creating that sleep environment that is conducive to independent sleep is so important. So having, a calm, peaceful environment with, as little as possible stimulation and interruptions. White noise, so important. Blackout curtains, just creating a womb-like or a cave-like environment for a baby.
I think for me, one thing that I find is very important that I wish I would have it's like I thought I understood this, but when I went through it as a new mom, I really didn't, how important self-care is. So just taking care of yourself during this time, because it's a really vulnerable, challenging time, and it can be really hard. It can cause it's a complete change in the dynamic of your relationships, all of them. There's other people being involved, and sleep disruption, and sleep can cause a lot of issues, emotionally, psychologically, physically. So just being able to take time to take care of yourself, even between sleeping and taking care of baby, and having a little time to yourself and setting a boundary in that way, extremely important. I find it really helps with mental health balance and preventing postpartum depression, anxiety, and then helping you being able to sleep. Because sometimes if you're not getting that self-care And if your baby is actually, if we can get you to help your baby sleep, some people can't because they're like, I'm so activated and stimulated. So just helping your nervous system calm down and finding ways to do that, I think it's really important.
I always say that I created the program that I wish I'd had as a newborn parent. I was in so much agony as a newborn parent. I was an insomniac before I became a parent, and I actually functioned quite well on 3 to 5 hours of sleep pretty consistently. And I crashed weekend and I would sleep for 12 hours one night, 14 hours the next night, pick up all of that sleep and go into the week feeling pretty good and end up exhausted and overwhelmed the week. But when I had a baby who woke up every 90 minutes needing me to breastfeed her back to sleep all night long, every single night for 11 months, the toll it took on my mental health was incredible. And I did not see the slow descent. I didn't see the anxiety increasing. I didn't see the depression increasing. I didn't see the isolation and the guilt and the shame and all of the huge mental health problems that I had building up over that time where I really had no relief. My husband couldn't breastfeed her for me, so I really felt trapped. And I think that that's something that many parents who come into our program resonate with, and something that I wish I'd known before I became a parent was just how important sleep is. And that's going to lead us into our most powerful sleep tip. So, we give parents lots of tips and things to try throughout our newborn parenting or newborn sleep program. We have a 6-week program that step by step helps parents with tips. What are your favorite tips from all of the ones that we share with parents? I'd love for us to just give a quick tip from each of us that parents might be able to try today.
I think one of my favorite sleep tips with infants and toddlers both is to try to protect the first nap, especially at home, whenever possible. You can really, if you can do that, and it's an adjustment, I know, for everybody in your life and your schedule, but if you can do that, you're really setting yourselves up for success and for an easier day and hopefully a more restful and easier night for your babies and for you as a parent. I think having that nap at home, it's going to be, overall more restful. Baby's going to be in their own calm, independent space without distractions. So whenever possible, trying to keep that first nap that usually is the most restorative nap at home. That's my favorite tip at the moment.
Love it.
I would have to say, probably just from a standpoint of a lactation consultant, I would say it's probably something around feedings. And I find that having them stay awake for the feedings and not falling asleep and working with them that way and getting them really full before you're going to put them to sleep and alert. And then also when they wake up, giving them a really good feeding, you're going to find that they're going to eat better and you might have more success with breastfeeding. Because I know breastfeeding can be really stressful and really hard thing for a lot of folks. Everyone thinks it's natural, it should just be easy, but it's actually, that's why people like me exist, because it can be so challenging. But yeah, I think just I can also help with reflux and things like that. So I think the feedings are a huge piece in there.
That was a game changer for me, realizing eat, play, sleep. My favorite newborn sleep tip is with overstimulation, because newborns get overstimulated very easily. And they tend to be overstimulated more in the afternoon and evenings. So we often refer to this as the witching hour, but they can be overstimulated any time of the day. Signs for overstimulation are a baby closing their eyes and turning away from stimulation. So faces, bright lights, zingy toys that have lights and lots of action, When you notice that your baby is fussy, clenching their fists and turning away from stimulation, that's a sign to remove them from an exciting environment and get them to some place where they can start to calm their nervous system. Okay, last question for this session here is about mental health red flags. We end up seeing a lot of mental health red flags with the overwhelmed and the exhausted parents that we work with. And we thought, what if we turned that into ourselves and reflected on our own newborn experience? What are the red flags that you were showing signs of when you were a newborn parent? I really love that part of our program is helping parents to feel less alone and to feel seen. So let us tell you, we really can empathize with the experiences you're going through.
With my first child, I felt overly concerned about her well-being. And I thought that I really had prepared well mentally to have a new baby. And with the work that I did with babies, I thought that I was really well set up. But I didn't really give enough emphasis to my mental health before I had this baby. And was really surprised by the anxiety that crept in and how, I was constantly worried about her and, is she okay? Looking at the baby monitor, really putting all of her needs before my own needs, and really not focusing on self-care at all. And so, sometimes as a postpartum doula, I will notice, this in other parents right away that they're very distracted by their babies when they're sleeping, or when they are not necessarily needed to be parenting at that moment, but they're still very concerned and hyper vigilant. Also noticing that they're putting off eating meals, not drinking enough water, because they're always putting baby's needs before their own. And it's just a really hard place to be. It's a really difficult way to feel, and it's hard to ask for help. It's hard to even see it in yourself until you're on the other side of it too, I think, a lot of times. Yeah, and I've heard other moms say that. I really felt that way myself. So I think, just being able to voice that and to talk to someone is super important. Getting support, having support to even just, have a break and be able to get, a meal and have some time for rest is incredibly important.
But I love what you said, Kalina, about how hard it is to notice it in yourself, which is why it's so helpful to have lactation consultants, postpartum doulas, your partner, your midwife, healthcare professionals checking in with you so that you can begin to notice those things.
Yes, definitely. As a first-time parent, especially, those are things that you don't recognize right away necessarily.
Yeah. How about you, Mellisa? What's your postpartum red flag?
Yeah, for me personally, I mean, I see it in all different things in other people that I work with a lot, but my personal one was guilt, feelings of guilt, especially around the whole sleep thing, So and a lot of that was just me being triggered from some of my own traumas, which is really common. A lot of times we don't even know our own traumas that are happening within us during this time, and they can all just open up during this time because I was saying earlier, we're so vulnerable in this space. So, just like those feelings of guilt, like, oh, I can't put my baby, like, I can't, like, I didn't want anyone to touch my baby. I was like, no, I'm going to hold my baby. And I didn't want to put my baby down to sleep. Well, my baby didn't want to be put down to sleep. So he would cry. So if I put him down and he'd cry, I'd feel so guilty. I'd pick him up immediately. And, I was just like holding him constantly. And and I realized a lot of that was like my own feelings of like guilt and being triggered around my own abandonment issues. And that can really disrupt the ability to like let your child sleep, which will let you sleep, and then teaching them independent sleep skills. It can be a hindrance. And so for me, that was my personal red flag or trigger, was those feelings of really deep guilt that just kind of snowballed for me. And I'm still working on that. It's a never ending thing. So, but especially I think just being a parent, it brings up so much for us, and just having awareness around that and knowing there's other people that share these experiences is really, really vitally important. So that's what we're here to support you for.
I agree. Yeah. That is why we're here. I think I had this expectation that I should be able to do everything on my own, and I couldn't. So it was so reassuring to create this community of people who are really honest and open about challenges because they're wanting to grow and get help for things.
Right.
I think my red flag was resentment. I had so much resentment. I resented mostly my husband, who could sleep through the night and then wake up in the morning and say things like, "Oh, wow, she had a great night's sleep, huh?" And I would want to like hit him over the head with a frying pan because I was up 8 times feeding a baby and changing diapers and dealing with a kiddo who was like wanting to giggle and play instead of go back to sleep. So he took the brunt of my resentment, but I also found myself resentful towards parents who had good sleepers, and towards my healthcare providers who like gave me the advice to just cry it out. And I tried and it didn't work and I didn't feel comfortable with that method. I felt really resentful about non-parents. I spent so much time thinking like, have I made this huge mistake? My kids deserve to have a better parent than me. What have I done? Becoming a parent, this probably shouldn't be in my job description. I'm failing at it, etc. But that resentment piece for me is a really big red flag. In fact, now when I experience resentment, I know it's because my healthy boundaries are not being observed. I'm not taking good care of myself, and I need to go back and think about the boundaries I need to put in place to have that healthy mindset, and the resentment goes away as a result of that. So I now use resentment as sort of my red flag to let me know when I need to check in and support myself a little bit better. So we definitely encourage you as parents to check in with yourselves and ask yourself where you're needing support, what would be helpful for you, how you are taking care of yourself trickles down to how you're able to take care of your child. And interestingly, the better you take care of yourself, the better job you can do coaching your kiddo to sleep independently, to feel safe, to feel confident in their own bed all night long, eventually, right? When they're babies, they need a lot of help. But you can lay a really incredible foundation for independent sleep starting as young as 2 to 4 weeks of age. And it might take some tweaks and it might take some modifications depending on your family, but I love that we are here to teach parents all about how to take care of themselves, how to help have the best feeding relationship and the best relationship to your environment so that your kiddo can sleep like a champ right from the start. Okay, we're going to leave it at that. Thank you so much, Calina and Mellisa. I appreciate you, and I am so glad you're here to help support parents. And I know parents really appreciate having your expertise.
Thank you. Likewise.
Thank you so much. So grateful.